official contact with the agents of Fenerbahce left-back Ferdi Kadıoğlu over a potential summer move. Terms apparently ongoing with Ligt, Mazraoui and Manuel Ugarte, plus also a bit of a preview ahead of the Man City game tomorrow. These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this evening's show. But before we get into that, please smash a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's get straight on into it. Right, okay. I want to start the show off by talking about the Community Shield tomorrow. I want you to get in the comment section and give me your score predictions. Let me know. What's your predictions? Who's going to score the goals? What's the scoreline going to be? Who's going to win the game? Get your thoughts in right now. I will give you mine in a couple of minutes. And we have got the confirmed travelling squad ahead of the game tomorrow. So I want to go through that together really quickly before we talk about more transfer-related stuff. So starting from back to front, we've got Onana, Bayinda, Heaton, Dalot, Maguire. That's really good. Evans, Martinez, Amas, Casemiro, Mount, Collier, McTominay, Mainu, Fernandes, Rashford, Ahmad, Anthony, Garnacho, Sancho, Pellistri and Xerxes. So pretty much every player that was there are players we expected to be there, if that makes sense. The only one that's made it that we weren't expecting to make it was Harry Maguire. So fair play to Maguire. He's made himself available. Luke Shaw's disappeared off the face of the earth again. He was injured all season. Suddenly makes himself available for the Euros and now is unavailable again. Maguire, fair play to him, you know. Maybe he's not the best in the world. Maybe he needs to leave the club, but at least he makes himself available, you know. And I know that doesn't make you a good player by making yourself available, but we still have to show a bit of respect when players want to play for Manchester United and they'll do whatever they can to make themselves fit and available. And Harry Maguire's clearly done that. So in relation to a predicted lineup, it's most likely going to be Harry Amas at left back, Martinez and Maguire as the centre-back partnership, which I think is pretty good. Dalot at right back. Midfield three, most likely of Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes and Kobe Mainu. And then a front three of Marcus Rashford. I think he might play Sancho as a false nine, but that's just my opinion. And then Ahmad as a right winger. That's what I think will probably happen. Some would argue that maybe Xerxes should start, but he's never played a professional game for Manchester United yet. So it's a bit of a risk to throw him in to a Community Shield game against Man City at Wembley. Maybe it's not. Maybe some of you think that Xerxes should start, but obviously you can let me know your thoughts on that. I personally think that either Bruno or Sancho will play as a false nine. That's my prediction. But yeah, let me know what your predicted lineups are. Score-wise, I think it's going to be a very hard game, to be honest, but it is still pre-season. Obviously, Man City won't be at 100% fitness. I don't know if we've got the Man City travelling squad. Let me have a look if I can find the Manchester City squad for the Community Shield, because it'll be interesting to see how many of their players are available for that. Can I find that? Okay. I don't think... Let's have a look. Okay, so apparently Rodri, John Stones, Phil Foden and Kyle Walker aren't going to be part of the game. So, I mean, that's already an advantage to us because all four of those players would start usually. So they're without four key players. Man City have got so much squad depth, though, that even without them, yeah. Let's have a look. Yeah, so from the Man City squad, the only kind of notable missing players are Rodri, John Stones, Phil Foden and Kyle Walker. But as I said, all four of those players would start that game. So that's a positive. And I know some people are like, why are you talking about this? I don't care about the Community Shield. But I personally think it's a really, really important game for Manchester United. And I think it will really dictate the mood of the rest of the season. So as much as I understand that it's just a friendly, I still want Manchester United to win it. And I hope that you guys do as well. You know, I'm really excited about that game. We will do a watch along on the channel for that. So I think it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. I'll probably go live about half an hour before. So if you want to get involved in a watch along, then I will be live for that tomorrow. But yeah, get your score predictions in. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Okay, let's jump straight on over to some transfer related stuff then. Let's get on to the good stuff because there's lots and lots of news coming out this evening. And I want to start the show off by talking about Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt. So this is coming out from Plettigol, who's obviously the German Sky Sports news journalist, very reliable on the Bundesliga. And he is reporting today that my expectation is that Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt will both join Manchester United this month. He's literally said this in the last 5 minutes. He says a double transfer will be completed. Positive negotiations are now ongoing between United and Bayern Munich, and progress is being made. I mean, that's probably the biggest kind of positive development in this transfer saga we've had in a while, because for a very long time it's been no progress is made. Bayern Munich won't reduce their price, and it's just the same over and over and over again. But for him to come out saying, literally, this is in the last 30 minutes, that apparently he's describing it as positive progress is now being made. He goes as far as saying that Matthias de Ligt and Mazraoui will join Manchester United this summer. He's not saying if, he's not saying maybe, he's saying they will, and he's saying a double transfer will be completed. So he's obviously got some information that's been given to him today that has made him come out with that tweet. As I said, he is a tier 1 source for the Bundesliga, German journalist, very, very reliable. Does that mean they're going to sign? Obviously not. It doesn't mean 100%, because until they're holding the shirt, even if we get a here we go, they might fail a medical, something might happen. Like, until they're holding the shirt, you can never say for certain that a player is going to sign, obviously, because crazy things can happen in football. Like, for example, yesterday, Jean-Claire Todibo was on his way to Turin to do his medical for Juventus, right? We'd had the here we go, the deal was done. And then suddenly West Ham come in and hijack the deal. So crazy things can happen. But it seems that a story that has been briefed to the media this evening that apparently positive progress is being made. So hopefully that positive progress ends up in Mazraoui and de Ligt becoming Manchester United players, because we desperately need both of them, I think. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with this whole police investigation towards Matthias de Ligt. I'm not sure, you know. So until we know anything else about that, let's just kind of forget about that for now, I think. Unless we obviously get some more, you know, news coming out. But at the moment, it seems very, very quiet. Stefan says, could we hijack the Moreno deal? I've heard nothing about Moreno to Manchester United, so I'd probably say no. But anything can happen in football. Paul's asking about the alleged hit and run thing. He hasn't been arrested. Apparently, the German police are investigating him. He crashed into a parked car, apparently, and didn't stop and left the scene. And that's being called a hit and run because he technically hit the car and ran. But yeah, I don't think it is a hit and run. Because when you say hit and run, you think like you've run someone over and driven off. But apparently he's just crashed his car into another car that was parked. And he didn't stop to like give his, you know, vehicle registration number and details and insurance details. He left. So, yes. Somebody says, can we sell Shaw? No, mate. No one's going to buy Shaw. No one's going to buy Shaw. I would be absolutely shocked. Why would anybody want to buy Shaw? It's weird, right, in this fan base. There's some people who like defend Shaw to the high heavens. And I just don't understand it. How can you defend somebody who's literally missed 50% of Manchester United's games since he became a Manchester United player? Yes, arguably he had a horrible injury, but even since then, he still misses like most of our games each season, doesn't he? I don't know. I just think he's too comfortable. He's been here too long. He's on too much money. On his day, he's a good player, but he's rarely available. He's rarely fit. And for me personally, we need to look to replace him in that position. I just don't think anybody's going to buy him because, you know, all you have to do is look at Luke Shaw's injury record, and I think that would put off any potential buyers. He's 29. He's literally just turned 29. So he's coming towards the end of his time at Manchester United. But the most frustrating thing with Luke Shaw, and this isn't his fault at all, is that we gave him a new contract last summer, which I think was probably one of the stupidest things we could have done. He's got 3 years left on his contract. So he's going to be 33 by the time he leaves Manchester United. Like, what was the logic on that? There is no logic on that. That's the answer. And I know that he's a good player on his day, but there are so many players throughout kind of football history that, you know, have the ability and all the rest of it, but their injuries just ruin their career. And Luke Shaw's one of them. I feel sorry for him. I do. And, you know, to be on the wages he's on and to be playing as little as he is, it's a really, really stupid decision by the Glazers to reward him. But yeah, that's my take on that. Some people like love Luke Shaw, don't they? But yeah. Paul says, what's his latest injury? Mate, I've got no idea. All I know is that Luke Shaw's not part of the team. I'm just going to open my window a little bit. 1 second, everyone. Yeah, all I know for sure is that Luke Shaw is not part of the team for the game tomorrow, and that he's not ready, even though he was playing in the Euros final 3 weeks ago, and now he's suddenly not available again. And, you know, if it was like once in his career, you'd obviously put it past him. But the fact that he's been injured all season and then suddenly he's available for the Euros and plays in it, like, obviously that's suspicious. I'm sorry, it is. And it shows where his priorities are. He didn't want to help Manchester United try and get out of the mess of finishing 8th and try and, you know, pull up the table a little bit and restore some decency at the club. He would rather have just waited so he could have been involved in the Euros. Macmillan says Shaw isn't injured, he's not fit. I mean, how is all these other players who've just come back from holiday fit? Do we need to go through the team news again? If anything, right, saying he's not injured, he's just not fit, that's actually worse, I think, in my opinion. I think that's worse than him being injured. Because that clearly shows that whilst he was on holiday, whatever, he clearly wasn't looking after himself if he's not fit enough to play. 3 weeks ago, he was playing in the Euros final. 3 weeks later, he's apparently not fit enough to play for Manchester United. I mean, Bruno Fernandes, Dalot, Garnacho's in the team, Pellistri's in the team, Martinez is in the team. Like, all of these people played football 3 weeks ago for their international teams, right? Or roughly, give or take. And they're all in the team tomorrow. Kobe Mainoo's there. I just don't think it's an excuse to be like, oh, he's not injured, he's just not fit. I mean, that's actually worse in my opinion. Does that mean he's not looking after himself properly? Does that mean it takes him longer to get back to fitness? Has he come back overweight? I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. But it annoys me because, as I just said, Martinez and Garnacho won the Copa America like 3.5 weeks ago. Pellistri played in that game as well. They're all in the squad tomorrow. They're all available. Dalot, Xerxes, all of these others were involved in the Euros. They're all there. They're all available. And Luke Shaw isn't. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka's injured. You can't blame Wan-Bissaka for that. And Lindelof's injured as well. But if Luke Shaw's just simply not fit, I actually believe that's worse, personally. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm being harsh. I'm just a little bit fed up with him, to be honest. We've got over 1,000 people watching the show live now, which is absolutely amazing. If everyone could do me a small favour and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. Let's try and get 1,000 likes on this video. We can definitely do it. If everybody watching the video now likes, we will achieve that target easily. And we're literally just about to hit 35,800 subscribers. So if this is your first time watching, please go and subscribe. Let's try and hit that by the end of today's video. We can definitely do it. And the final plug I've got for you, because I've been having some great conversation with people over there today, is we are now on Twitter. So if you want to have a bit more back and forth with me, if you want to at me, if you want to disagree with me, head on over to our Twitter. I'm going to try and be very active on there over this season. So please go and subscribe on Twitter. I've just dropped a link into the chat to do that. Everyone is welcome. Go and get involved. Paul says, I like Luke Shaw, but now this has gone too far. I agree. I like Luke Shaw as well. I think he's a likable person. I think he's good on his day. And unfortunately, his day is not often enough. Paul says, what's going on with Malacia? Malacia's out until, I think, October, November, mate. So there's no Malacia tomorrow. It looks like it will be Harry Amas starting tomorrow, which I'm happy for the kid, you know? And tomorrow will be a massive test for Harry Amas to see how he can do against the Man City side. Yes, it's just a friendly. Yes, there's no Premier League points on the line, but it's still a big, big test. And at the end of that game, we could have... I'm going to call it a trophy. I don't care. I don't understand this obsession where people are like, I don't want the Community Shield. It means nothing. You only get to the Community Shield by either winning the Premier League or the FA Cup. You know, you have to do something to get there. When Arsenal played in it last season, that meant nothing because they only got there because they finished second and because Man City won both the FA Cup and the Premier League. But we won the FA Cup last season. We've earned the right to be there, and I want to win that game tomorrow, 100%. Imran says, I don't actually think Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka are injured. I think they've probably been transfer listed. I mean, that's another possibility. You know, there's a very strong possibility that that's correct. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka is supposedly moving to West Ham, and Lindelof apparently is moving to Fenerbahce. So, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But let's move on to Manuel Ugarte, because I can see lots of people in the comments section asking me about Ugarte. So let's jump on over to that then, shall we? Because we've had multiple different stories come out since we spoke this morning about Manuel Ugarte. And the general headline is this. that apparently Manchester United are still in talks over a deal for Manuel Ugarte. This is coming out from Florian Plettenberg, who's been very, very busy today. He says, I've been told that Manchester United and PSG are still in negotiations to find an agreement for Manuel Ugarte. He says that Ugarte wants to join Manchester United. He says that Manchester United are exploring different options as well, but the Ugarte deal is not off at this stage. So there is still hope in that. And it could be that Sander Berge, all these other players we've been linked to might just be a distraction. It's very, very possible. And I mean, I would take Manuel Ugarte. I just don't think he's worth 60 million euros. That's my point. I think if you could get him for like, I would say 50 million euros, very, very top, I would probably take him, you know, because I think he is a good player. I just think 60 million is crazy money. But we're going to talk about Sander Berge in a minute because apparently he's valued at £30 million. So when you look at it like that, maybe it is worth it. But just to give you the full roundup, Fabrizio Romano came out in the last couple of hours saying that Manuel Ugarte is still the top priority for Manchester United. So although the headlines are the deal is off, they've pulled out, all the rest of it, that could well be that Manchester United are just trying to effectively play poker with PSG. You know, they're trying to make them think that they're going to go for someone else when really they actually want to get Sander Berge. That's probably the most likely... Manuel Ugarte. That's probably the most likely option. But yeah, quickly, I want to talk about Sander Berge really, really quick because apparently Burnley have asked for £30 million for Sander Berge. And I'm going to be blunt with you. I think that's too much. I think that's way too much. I think Sander Berge for 15, 20 million would be really, really good. I think it would present good value. It would be an opportunity on the market for a player who's 6'4", physical and Premier League proven, and it would tick a lot of boxes. But as soon as you start getting into the £30 million kind of range, is he worth 30 million? I don't think so, to be honest. And already then that just puts me off the deal completely. I would only go for him if it was a genuine good deal for us, i.e. a good price, not ridiculous wages, and you know he could come in as a squad player. £30 million to me is probably not really a squad player at the moment. It's somebody who needs to be starting every single game. And is he good enough to play every single game for Manchester United? Maybe he is, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. £30 million in euros is 35 million euros, and the point I'm making here is, if we could get Manuel Ugarte for 45, 50 million euros, which I think is what his value is, I would rather get Ugarte for, say, 45 million euros than Sander Berge for 35 million euros. I was only really excited about Sander Berge because I thought he was an opportunity on the market. I thought he was someone we could get for cheap because obviously Burnley have been relegated and he wants to leave the club. But as soon as you start hearing £30 million, you just instantly think like they've added 10 million on top of his value. There is no way he's worth £30 million. I'm sorry. Like, not a hope in hell. That's for Sander Berge, by the way. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you're watching this video thinking Sander Berge is easily worth £30 million. He's amazing. But from what I've seen of him, from the research I've done on him and all the rest of it, I think 20 million would probably be fair. If not, maybe even a little bit too much. He went to Sheffield United in 2020 for 25 million euros, which is about 20 million pounds. And then he moved to Burnley last summer for only 13 million euros. So if they were to sell him for 30 million pounds, right, which is what they're asking for, they'd be making nearly 25 million profit in 1 year. And that doesn't make sense, you know? He hasn't done enough last season. I know he got Player of the Year for Burnley and all the rest of it, but you can't put your hand on your heart and tell me that Sander Berge in one season for Burnley has done enough for his value to go up by 25 million, in my opinion. So, yeah, and I think Manchester United will be looking at it in a similar way. They probably saw him as a cheaper alternative option, but as soon as you hear a 35 million euros valuation, they're probably sat there thinking, why are we not just going for Manuel Ugarte? If they think they can get the price down, they're definitely going to prioritise Manuel Ugarte than Sander Berge, I think. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will sign him. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, nobody knows until obviously it comes out in the media. People in the chat are saying he's worth 15 million tops. Somebody else says 20 million tops. Yeah, I think 15 to 20 million would be fair for Sander Berge. I think anything more than that would be yeah, would be way too much. But obviously, if you disagree, let me know in the comment section. I always like to see what other people have to say. Milchit says it's the Man United tax. Yeah, of course it is. If like a Brighton came in for him, he'd be worth like 15, 20 million, or like a Southampton or an Ipswich or one of the other kind of lower Premier League clubs. He'd be a 15, 20 million pound player, tops. But as soon as it's Manchester United, they're like, oh, let's stick another 10 million on the top and see if they go for it. So, yeah, that's my take on it, but maybe I'm wrong. Right, let's move on over to Ferdi Kadıoğlu, because I know a lot of people are very, very excited about this. So this story came out today from a very, very reliable Turkish journalist. He's tier 1 for the Turkish league. He's got 1.4 million followers on Twitter. He's followed by all of the big people, the Fabrizios, the David Ornsteins. He's probably the most reliable Turkish journalist for football. And he is reporting today that Manchester United have apparently met with Ferdi Kadıoğlu's representatives and asked about the contract terms he would demand from them in case they can find an agreement with Fenerbahce. Now, we've been talking about Ferdi Kadıoğlu for quite some time now. We know that Manchester United are interested in him. I think he'd be an unbelievable signing. He was absolutely quality in the Euros. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch him too much for Fenerbahce, but I did obviously see him at the Euros, and I thought he was really, really good. He is obviously a left back, but he can play at right back, and he can play as a CDM as well. So he effectively ticks 3 boxes, which I think is good. His price tag is 30 million euros, which sounds like a lot, but for a 24-year-old who is the starting left back for Turkey and was one of the best players in the Turkish league last season, I think it probably is a fair price. Now, there is obviously the possibility that Lindelof could end up at Fenerbahce. That's been reported quite a few times in the last couple of days. So maybe that a deal can be done there. But the rest of the stories here is... where is it? There it is. It says, Ferdi Kadıoğlu apparently wants to leave and play for a Premier League club next season and is open to joining Manchester United. It says, pending further confirmation... Manchester United are preparing a bid of around 30 million euros for Ferdi Kadıoğlu. So I definitely think he's one of the players very high up on our target list, but whether we have the funds to do that deal now, maybe we do. Maybe Ineos have been playing us this whole window and are going to go on an absolute madness in the final 2 or 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised. I really, really wouldn't, because anybody with half a brain can look at our squad and see how many gaps we have in our team, right? You go and look at Chelsea as an example. Chelsea have spent $1 billion in like 2 windows. So all of this financial fair play stuff, I don't understand how it doesn't affect Chelsea. And people will say, oh, well, they sold Conor Gallagher. They sold Conor Gallagher and then they bought a player from Atletico Madrid for exactly the same amount of money. They sold Gallagher for 35 million and then to Atletico, and then bought a striker off Atletico for 35 million. So I don't really understand this whole narrative that is going round. They've just agreed a deal for Pedro Neto for 60 million. Apparently they're going in for Victor Osimhen. It's absolutely mad when you look at the amount of players that they've signed this summer already, Chelsea, and you look at the squad they've got this summer. They've signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They've signed 10 players this summer already. And this list doesn't even include Pedro Neto. So once they sign Pedro Neto, they'll have 11 players that they've signed already. We've signed 2. And this is a team who over the last 2 seasons have spent over $1 billion in transfer fees. We spent like 150 million last year and have spent about, 50 million net this summer. Let me have a look at what their net was last year quickly. Yeah, so their net spend last summer was 200 million. The summer before that was... I know they've got people like Lukaku, they've got other players who are going to leave the club, but the summer before that, Chelsea, 22-23, their net spend was 560 million. And last season is 200 million. Now, the season where it was 560 million was the season where they got new owners in. And we don't hear anything about Chelsea having financial fair play issues, so I don't really understand how they've got around it. If anybody knows, if anybody has the answer to this, how they spent 562 million net in one window, and then the next window spent 200 million, and this summer they're on track to spend 200 million again. They've spent so far this summer 120 million net. I mean, it's absolutely crazy amounts of money. I don't really understand it, like how they're doing it. But when we put that over to Manchester United, right? I'm not saying that we should be like Chelsea, by the way. You know, I'm just trying to understand how it's even possible for teams to do that. I don't get it. Like, how can some clubs say financial fair play and then Chelsea financial fair play doesn't seem to exist? Alex says apparently they sold a hotel to themselves. I did hear about that. If anybody knows any more information about that, let me know, because I don't really understand that whole hotel situation. It's a little bit strange. But going back to Ferdi Kadıoğlu, I think he'd be an absolutely quality player. He'd be absolutely unbelievable. He's exactly what we need. And I think we definitely need to do it. Melchett says that they're spreading the contracts over 7 years. Yeah, I did hear about that. So they're spreading the fees over 7 years. Is that what you're saying? Apparently they sold a hotel and a car park for 300 million. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. But yeah, Ferdi Kadıoğlu, 30 million. Apparently that is what is being quoted in the media today. Maybe Manchester United are going to go on a madness in the last few weeks of the window. Like, that is entirely possible. It could happen. Fabrizio said earlier on today that apparently there's going to be lots of business from Manchester United in the final weeks of the window. So, yeah. All right, moving on from that, though, I want to talk about PSG really quickly and Jadon Sancho, because Duncan Castles has reported this evening that apparently PSG have had direct conversations with Manchester United over a deal for Jadon Sancho, and he is claiming that talks are now advancing. I don't know about this whole Jadon Sancho situation. Like, I'm not desperate to sell Sancho at this point. If someone's going to give us like 50 to 70 million, then obviously, yeah, great, go and do it. But I don't know. I just fear that if we sell Sancho now, it's going to be like a low offer, like 30, 40 million. And I think he's worth more than that, to be honest. You know, if Pedro Neto's worth 65 million, Jadon Sancho's surely worth more than 30. If Dominic Solanke has just gone to Tottenham for, what is it, 65, 70 million, then Jadon Sancho's worth more than 30 million, especially when you're selling him to PSG, who are one of the richest clubs in world football. Like, yeah, I mean, Dominic Solanke is literally just about to move to Tottenham for 65 million. Like, can you honestly put your hand on your heart and tell me that Dominic Solanke is better than Jadon Sancho? I don't think you can. Dominic Solanke is 26 years of age. I know they play in different positions. I appreciate that. But, like, he's definitely not better than Jadon Sancho. I know it's different positions. I get that. So it's hard to compare. But Dominic Solanke's a striker, and he scored 29 goals in 135 games in the Premier League. So he's averaging a goal every 7 games, roughly. So if you look at that over a season, on average, 7, 14, 21, 28, it's about 5 or 6 goals a season on average over all the games he's played, Dominic Solanke. And he's supposedly worth £65 million. And we're looking to sell Sancho to PSG, who are the richest club in the world. I would be asking for 60 million. Like, why not? They have the money. Mbappe's gone. They have the wages. Like, and the thing is, right, if we let Jadon Sancho go now, we're going to have to replace him with somebody. And who would we replace him with? Like, who is out there who we can go and get to replace Jadon Sancho? I'm sure there are people out there, but I just don't really know who. Yeah, so obviously we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But I personally don't think that Jadon Sancho is going to go. I might be wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe he will go. But there's, 3 weeks left of the window. Manchester United haven't really been linked to any wingers. So, yeah, I think it's probably unlikely. But, you know, crazy things happen in football. We might wake up tomorrow and it might be Jadon Sancho to PSG. Here we go. Like, that is a possibility, you know? Who woke up this morning and thought that Pedro Neto was going to be joining Chelsea? Probably not a single one of you. So, like, things can happen quickly in football. We've got a super chat coming in here from Macmillan. Macmillan says, look at the amortization of Sancho's contract length, still hence the price. Sell Jadon cheaper could help with Ugarte. Yeah. I think if we could get around 40 to 50 million, that would be like my absolute minimum. You know? Like it has to be the minimum. Anything less than that, I think it's going to be difficult. Stratford Gamer says we could get Ivan Toney to replace him. I mean, that's a fair point. You could get Ivan Toney. Obviously, Garnacho, Rashford, Ahmad, Anthony, Pellistri. You've got 5 wingers already. Do we need another winger? Maybe not. But we definitely need another attacking player. That's my point. Obviously, Højlund's injured. Xerxes our only striker at the moment. So if we're going to sell Jadon Sancho, we need another attacking player. And I probably would agree with that person. It should be someone like Ivan Toney, a striker, to come in and offer us something different in that area, because at the moment we are a little bit short. Yeah, I think so anyway. We are pretty stacked in the wing positions, aren't we? I know Greenwood's gone, and I know Anthony's probably surplus to requirements now, but we are pretty stacked in that position. And I think Xerxes can play on the wing as well, can't he? Like Xerxes pretty versatile from what I'm hearing. Obviously, we've barely even like had a chance to see Xerxes yet, have we? Only in like the training videos and stuff. But yeah. Right, let's see what else I've got planned. Everyone who's still watching the video, if you could do me a small favour and smash a like, that'd be really appreciated. We've only got 350 likes, but there's literally 1,200 people watching this video at the moment, which is crazy. So big ups to all of you. If you could do me that favour and smash a like, that'd be appreciated. Let's get to 1,000 before the video ends. And make sure you subscribe as well. I've just dropped a link into the chat to do that. And come and join us on Twitter. After the show finishes, I will be on Twitter. So if you want to have some debate with me, you can come and get on the Twitter and yeah, we can have a bit of a conversation. I've just dropped a link in the chat for the Daily Red Devil Twitter page. So go and follow that if you are on that platform. Somebody says, where do you think Mason Mount will play this season? Well, I'd hope that Mason Mount would rotate with Bruno, because as much as I love Bruno, he plays too much. Even when Bruno's not playing well, he plays. So I hope that Mason Mount gets his opportunity, because otherwise that 60 million's just gone down the drain, isn't it? But yeah, Mason Mount probably will play in Bruno's position, I imagine. There is obviously a possibility that we could play Bruno, Mason Mount and Kobe Mainoo in one team. I personally think that's too attacking, but if you're playing against like a Luton Town at home, no disrespect to Luton Town, but somebody like that, or an Ipswich, I would expect us to be playing, Mainoo, Bruno and Mason Mount, because the problem in those types of games isn't going to be defending, it's going to be unlocking the other team. And I'd much rather have 3 creative players on the pitch than have like a Casemiro who doesn't really offer that much creatively, but maybe can put in a tackle or two. So there might be a world next season where we do see that midfield free, and I think it would be really, really interesting to see a Mason Mount, Bruno and Kobe Mainoo. Obviously, if you were going away to like Anfield or like the Etihad or Emirates, like that would be an awful idea. But if you're at home against like a relegation team, I think you could play those 3, and hopefully you'd get a lot of goals. Hopefully, I mean, we could at least outscore the opponents. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But let's see if there's anything else that's broken since we've gone live. I think that's probably everything. Just a little quick one to say congratulations to David De Gea, who has just become a Fiorentina player. So fair play to him. Really happy to see David De Gea back in football. It was weird, wasn't it, that he had like a year off football? Really strange. But David De Gea has signed for Fiorentina, so fair play to David De Gea. Just quickly on Jadon Sancho, because I know a few people were asking. So the Muppeteers was talking about Sancho earlier, and he said that Manchester United would want to keep Jadon Sancho unless they get a really good offer for him. The club will not pay him to play elsewhere. Sancho is, however, open to leaving. I would agree with that. Unless we're going to get like 50 million or something around that kind of figure for Sancho, then there's no point letting him go, because he will need replacing. So yeah, I would agree with that. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Have an amazing evening, everybody. Please make sure to smash a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And also make sure to go and follow us on Twitter. I've just dropped a link in the chat to our Twitter. So if you want to disagree with me, if you want to have some conversation or ask me stuff, head on over to our Twitter And yeah, we can continue the conversation there. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back live at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Obviously, if anything breaks tonight, I will go live. So make sure you have the notification bell on. Bye for now, everybody. Have a lovely evening, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.